Dear students, let's start our topic on coordinate geometry today. So, you heard about coordinate uh, in your previous classes, I hope. So, and you heard about point. In fact, when we discussed about real numbers, we discussed about a point on a number line. Correct? You recall the discussion what we had that locate that point root 2 in the number line. So you follow the processes, whatever we have discussed on that particular class, and you locate that point root 2 in the number line. So now, suppose I say not in a line, dear students, we need to locate a point on a plane. Let's look into the plane of this digital board, what you are seeing. Suppose I say that, dear students, I have a point, I have a point P, and you locate that point P. So how we are going to locate? What are the methods we can locate that point? The first one could be whenever you say that locating something, always we take a reference point. Let me give you an example. If I tell someone of you, for example, if I say to Kalpita, that Kalpita, I am coming to your school. Then you say, sir, where you are? Then I say, okay, I am in this position A and I am coming to your school. Um, then you should say, oh, sir, you come towards east from that point. Now, if I do not listen and come and go in completely different way, then I cannot reach your school. So, what is important is a reference point or reference frame. It could be a line, it could be lines, plural number, or it could be, the other kind of frame. But what we will be discussing today, dear students, is that with respect to lines. Now, let's come back to our discussion. We need to locate that point P in this plane of this whiteboard what you are seeing in front of you. Now you can say, okay, let's find a line. You can give your answer, sir, how I can find it out. Suppose I say, okay, I draw a straight line and I say that particular point P is at a distance of, x from that straight line. But that statement cannot uniquely tell that where the point P is. Why, dear students? Because I can find another point P1 just beneath P, so that this distance is also x possible. Na? I hope you agree to me. Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
I can get another point P2 here, okay, just beneath P1, and which is also at a distance of x from that straight line. And dear students, whenever we talk in coordinate geometry, a distance from a point to a straight line, it is always a perpendicular distance. That means from that point P, if you draw a perpendicular to that line, what you see the red line in this case, and the points are I mentioned in blue, from the point P, you draw a line, draw a perpendicular to the line, red line. From a point P1, you draw a perpendicular to that same red line. From the point P2, you draw a perpendicular to the same line, red, which is in red. Then we are not able to, uniquely position that point P. Correct, no, dear students? So if we say that, okay, my point, the point what you are telling me to find it out, is at a distance from a fixed line, cannot uniquely determine that point. So then we think that, okay, can we introduce another line? Okay, let's see. If we introduce another line and which is perpendicular to the initial line, that means we introduce another line which is perpendicular to the other line, that other red line. Then if we say, that this point P is at a distance, y from this line, the other line. So let me draw it in a different color so that you should not mix up. So if we say this thing, then what is the distance? This distance is y. Now it is impossible to find a point other than P which is at a distance x from the vertical line, what you see, vertical red line, and at a distance y from the horizontal red line. That should be a fixed point. Now we are able to point that point P very uniquely. Do you agree to me, dear students? If you do not agree, tell no. Correct, no? So what we understood is that we need two straight lines which are perpendicular to each other, and that constitutes a reference frame. With respect to this reference frame, always you can identify a point. Correct? Now you may say, sir, what about point P1 and point P2? Now, point P1, now before that, let me name these lines, the reference frame. So we can say the intersection of these two mutually perpendicular straight lines is O. This is known as the origin. And the horizontal line, we can tell this as the x-axis. So we can write it as at x, O, x dash. And in the perpendicular line to that x, O, x dash, that is known as the y dash. Correct, my dear students? Now, the point is that P1, the point P1, though it is at a distance of x unit from the y-axis, but it is not at a distance of y from the x-axis. It is at a distance something different. Could be y1. Correct, no? It is at a different distance. And point P2, it could be a different distance. It could be y2. So, as it is small, I can write like this. So, this distance could be y2. So, how far it is from the x-axis and how far it is from the y-axis, that has to be uniquely positioned in both the points. So, if you look into this, the point P, which is at a distance x from the y-axis and y from the x-axis, its coordinate we define as x comma y. Correct? So what is the coordinate of the point P? Is called x comma y. Now, in the same manner, if you find the point P1, its coordinates could be x comma y1. Coordinate of the point P2 should be x comma y2. I hope all of you agree to me, dear students. That means to uniquely identify a point in a two-dimensional plane, which is the plane of the whiteboard, what you are observing now, we need two reference frames. And those two reference frames is actually what is the distance of that point from those two reference frames is actually denoted by this coordinate. This is what is called coordinate. In simple terms, it is impossible, I repeat, though I said few minutes back, but it is very important to say, that's why I am repeating. It is impossible to find a point having two different coordinates. Impossible. And hence it is very important, hence it is very meaningful also, that this kind of representation makes a lot of sense. Now, how do, we can let us now discuss a little bit more about this coordinate axis. Okay? And how we actually point it out. First, I gave a justification that why it is important to have two mutually perpendicular straight lines to constitute a reference frame to uniquely identify a point in a two-dimensional plane. Now, as we understood the justification, let us now deep dive. Let us now look into more details about this reference frame, that is the coordinate axis. So how we are going to discuss, what we are going to discuss now, let me explain you. So I'm just, constructing that a reference frame, that is the x and y coordinate once more. So how it will be? So, sometime when I write in the digital board, that straight line become true straight line, but it's fine. I hope it is not creating any problem to you, dear students. You are able to, recognize it properly, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, if you look into that, that two mutually perpendicular straight lines, in the right side of, origin O is called the origin. So right side of the origin O, we make the equidistant points as the positive points. That means it is 1, it is 2, it is 3, it is 4, and so on, it goes on. And the left of it, we write it as -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. In the same manner, dear students, above the x-axis, whatever the y-axis portion you see, that we give the equidistance as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And similarly, below the x-axis, the portion of y-axis, what you see, dear students, that we give as -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. This is called y dash. Is it amply clear, dear students? Absolutely clear. So, in fact, x-axis, what you see, dear students, that is x dash ox, that you are quite familiar with the real number line. Remember? From the point O, that is the origin, which is the point 0, if you go right hand side, it is all the positive real numbers, goes up to infinite. Here also it goes up to infinite. Here it goes up to minus infinite. And all the numbers left of the origin, that is the left of the 0, are all the negative numbers. Here also we are adding one more axis, that is the y-axis, which you can make an analogy with that. Okay, it is a line which is perpendicular to the number line what we have learned earlier, and that is defined as the y-axis. And here also, which is the above the point 0, that we defined as the positive number like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes up to infinite. And when it's come down, dear students, -1 come down means below the x-axis. That means below the origin along the y-axis, or in other way I can say towards oy dash, it is -1, -2, -3, -4, up to it goes up to minus infinite. So what we learned, dear students, so this is known as the x-axis. This is known as the y-axis. I hope it is clear so far. Any doubt, any smallest doubt, you can let me know. Now, if we choose a point, dear student, if we choose a point in this region where both x is positive and y is positive, what will get, dear students? If you choose a point here, alpha and beta, what we get, alpha will be greater than 0, beta is also greater than 0, correct or not? Do you agree to me?
Yes, sir.
Here both x and y coordinate are greater than 0. That means, or other way you can say, both x and y coordinate are positive. So this is known as the first quadrant. It is known as the first quadrant. Now let's come to where x is negative but y is positive. That means if you find a point here, suppose the P with coordinate alpha and beta, I hope you agree to me if I write that here alpha is less than 0 but beta is greater than 0.
Yes, sir.
Correct or not? And this is known as the second quadrant. Now let's come to the place where both x is negative and y is negative. That means if we select a point P here, alpha
Sir,
comma
I have
beta.
a doubt.
Yes, please. Thank you very much for asking question. Please.
Sir, I didn't understand how beta is greater than 0 in the second quadrant.
Okay, very good. First of all, thank you very much for asking this question. If you see that if you locate a point that alpha beta in that second quadrant, so along that x-axis I need to come like this. As I'm coming towards the left, it is negative, right? After that I'm going up above the x-axis. Above the x-axis is y coordinate is positive.
Yeah.
Correct now? So here I'm coming left and then coming to above the y-axis. So x is negative because it is left of origin. But as it is above the origin, y, so that y is positive.
Oh, okay.
How we are choosing that point P? So if you see that in the first quadrant, you along that x-axis from the origin, along the x-axis you come to a point, and from there you go to a point this.
Oh, okay.
So this is alpha and this is beta, correct?
Yes, sir.
And here it is, this is alpha and this is beta, correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely clear?
Yeah.
Great. So now if we come to the third quadrant, what is third quadrant? You know, dear students, third quadrant is something where both x is negative and y is negative. So if you took a point here, so what we get? We get alpha is, sorry, we get alpha is less than 0 and beta is less than 0. Correct now? And this is known as the third quadrant. And how both alpha and beta is less than 0? Because from the origin, I come towards left of x-axis. And after that, I come down to the y-axis. Down to means you are coming to the negative of the y-axis. Below the x-axis, correct or not? So that is why here both are negative. Both x coordinate is negative and y coordinate is also negative. Now come to the fourth quadrant in which x is positive but y is negative. So what is that? If we take a point P here, dear students, with coordinate alpha comma beta, what we get it here? Alpha is greater than 0 but beta is less than 0, and this is known as the fourth quadrant. I hope it is clear, dear students. Or any doubt, any slightest doubt you have. So in first quadrant, I'll give an example. Before that, let me conclude this. After that, I will give an example. In the first quadrant, both x coordinate and y coordinate are positive. In the second quadrant, x coordinate is negative and y coordinate is positive. In the third quadrant, we see that x coordinate is negative, y coordinate is negative. And in fourth quadrant, we see that x coordinate is positive but y coordinate is negative. Clear? Clear, no, dear students? So let us see, let's take an example. Then it will be more clear. So let's draw an coordinate axis and let you tell me a point and I'll place it here. Suppose this is our coordinate axis. Okay. Origin. This is x-axis. This is negative direction of x-axis. This is y-axis. This is negative direction of y-axis. So here I choose the point 1, then 2, then 3, equidistant point, and it goes up to infinite. Then you choose a point -1, -2, -3, right? -1, -2, -3, and it goes up to minus infinite. Above the x-axis, okay, what we get the point in the y-axis is that 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and it goes up to infinite. And below the x-axis, we get -1, -2, -3, and it goes up to minus infinite. This is the way we first actually construct that x and y axis. If you have a graph paper, dear students, it could be more easier to plot this one. But okay, it is fine. We can also apply our, precision to place this one. It needed to be absolutely precisely correct to place a point. Now, dear student, you tell me a coordinate of a point and I'll place it. Each one of has to tell me. Let me start with Srivali. You tell me a point and I want to place that point in the coordinate axis.
Sir, -2 and 3.
Minus
3 -2.
3 comma minus 2. Very good. 3 comma minus 2, how it will be, dear students? So let me use a different color pen. Okay. 3 comma minus 2 as x. So what she said? She said, sir, you place 3 comma minus 2. So let me write it little here. So you are telling 3 comma minus 2. Should you place that one from origin as x coordinate is positive, dear students? So I go positive direction of 3 units. After that, I look for the y coordinate -2. So minus means what? Below the x-axis. Y coordinate negative means below the x-axis. And I'll come down and come to a point of distance -2 and place it here. So now I get the point P with coordinate 3 comma -2. Srivali, I want you to tell this point 3 comma -2 is in which quadrant?
Sir, fourth quadrant.
Fourth quadrant, correct. Now let me come to Manishika. Please tell me a point and I will place it and you tell me whether I am doing correct or not, or if you have any confusion.
4,6.
Sorry? I'm sorry, could you please repeat a little louder?
4,6.
4,6. All right. So you are telling a point. Suppose, let me give that point name. Is that Q 4,6? So now, first and foremost, 4 is we have not drawn and 6 also we have not drawn. So let me increase that one. So this should be our 4. This should be 5. This should be 6. Okay. Got it, no? And here also we need to increase the y-axis. So this should be 4. This should be 5. This should be 6. And it goes up to infinite. Thanks, Manishika, that you gave 4, 6. If you could have told 40, 60, it would have been a big task for me. But possible. At that time also, we can do it. So what is 4, 6? So then what I'll do, as I am drawing in the green color, so from the origin, I'll go 6 units along that x-axis positive. Why? Because, sorry, 4 units. Just a minute. So from the origin, I'll go up to 4 units along the x-axis because x-coordinate is 4, which is positive. Then from that one, I look for the y-coordinate. What is that? 6. So I'll go above the x-axis till a distance. Sorry, it doesn't look like a straight line. So I go till the distance 6. And here you get the point Q with coordinate 4, 6. Manishika, absolutely clear?
Yes, sir.
And can I ask you that in which quadrant that point is?
First quadrant.
First quadrant. Absolutely clear. Now, let me come to Kalpita. Kalpita, you tell me a point and I want to draw it.
So -3, -1.
Very good. -3, -1. Let me use a color, this one. So you are telling a point called -3, -1. So -3. So from origin, as x coordinate is negative, so my tendency should be to draw the line towards the left of the origin. So -3, I come. After that, I stop for a while and look for the y coordinate, that is -1. -1 means below the x-axis. So I'll come for -1 distance and stop it here. So I get the point R -3, -1. So now tell me, Kalpita, which quadrant this point is?
The third quadrant.
This is in the third quadrant. Very good. So all of you actually mention one point. So now as there are 4 quadrants, so let me also tell 1 points. So P, Q, R, and I'm going to tell a point called S. And definitely I need to tell a point which is in the second quadrant. So if I need to tell that point in the second quadrant, we know the X has to be negative, so I say -2, and Y has to be positive, so I say 3. So then what I should do? So along that x-axis, I should come 2 units in the negative direction. After that, I'll go 3 in the positive direction of the y-axis. That means above the x-axis. Correct? So this is the point S, and with coordinate -2, 3, and it is in the second quadrant. I hope it is absolutely clear, dear students, that how we can locate a point in the coordinate system. Or anything is not clear, please do let me know. Is absolutely clear, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, please do let me know. Okay. So, what we learned, dear students, we learned is that, that you observe the position of any object lying in a plane, and you can represent that with the help of 2 perpendicular lines. Okay. And this is actually the foundation of coordinate geometry. Okay, and this is what is called the Cartesian coordinate geometry. Okay, so this reference frame is known as the Cartesian system. Okay, so let me write it down. It is known as Cartesian system. And dear students, to represent any quantity, to represent any object, to represent something, always we take help of the different systems. Think about, let me little bit come to physics. Suppose you want to find the distance. You have different systems. You can measure it in CGS system or FPS system or in the SI system, correct or not? You heard about these terms, dear students? CGS, FPS, SI,
Yes, sir.
these are the different units of measurement. So, for example, in Indian context, generally, we define a long distance, suppose in traveling distance, we generally define it in kilometer, right? But in other countries, it is defined as miles. But both represent the same thing. It is a distance, right? But it's in different systems, different unit. Think about the weight. Okay, if it's small weight items, we define in India, it is like gram. But you go to the other countries where it is defined as pound. Similarly, dear students, in the same context, when we place a point, we can not only it is Cartesian system is not the only system to represent that. There are other systems as well, but those systems we will learn in the our future classes. It is not important at this moment. So at this moment, what we will do, dear students, we should be confined. We should be confined with this Cartesian system. So today we learned the foundation, and it is very important. And what I want you to do, I want you to, go through the video lectures as available in the online platform in more details, and make yourself comfortable about whatever we discussed today. And then in the next class, we will be discussing more. The next class is actually, day after tomorrow. And before concluding the one class, that that x coordinate in a point, the x coordinate is also known as abscissa. That means what? If I get a point P, let me write it down. Suppose I get a point P here, okay, and its coordinate is suppose alpha comma beta. So alpha is what? X coordinate, not dear students. So So it also has a name. It's called abscissa, ABSCISSA. It is known as ABSCISSA, abscissa. And the y coordinate, that beta, is also known as the ordinate. Ordinate. Why I'm saying so? Because sometime you get statement or question that hey, I have a point with abscissa 4 units. Then you should know, okay, that means the x coordinate is 4 unit, x coordinate is 4. Or someone is telling, hey, I have a point A with abscissa 5 units and ordinate minus 3 units. So that means it is talking about the point P 5, minus 3. As simple as that. So with this note, dear students, I would like to conclude the class now. And what I want you to spend, please spend some time by go through the books, whatever the books you have, NCERT books or other books, and you will understand exactly, you will find that whatever I just, gave you the idea, it's actually becoming very meaningful when you start reading books. And as you know, dear students, I always emphasize on self-study. So with this, I would like to conclude the class for today. And before we start our next class, that is day after tomorrow, I will expect that you complete 2 DPPs from coordinate geometry. And DPPs are available in the online test platform. You are aware of it. Before I conclude, I just want to know, do you have any question for me? Any question, dear students? No question? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.